Greetings and welcome to another episode of Daily Walking. I think this is 17 or 18. Once again, it's been several days since the last one I recorded, which is kind of going counter to the term daily walking. But really the idea of daily walking was me getting my butt out and walking, getting some exercise, trying to shoot for ultimately around 15,000 steps a day. On a daily basis, which I haven't exactly been doing, but I haven't been doing 3,000 a day. So, and it's hot. Southern California is in the middle of a heat wave, and it's overcast, which surprised me. Well, overcast on one side, but it's not nearly as gloomy as it is in my hometown of Houston right now. I really feel for those people. I moved out when I was 3, so I don't really remember it, but I feel a real strong tie to Houston and all of Texas, and I have family in Louisiana, some of whom are actually here in Southern California visiting right now, and on a trip up in Northern California. I've got an aunt and uncle who've come to visit, and they are now up in Lake Tahoe with my parents. So I think it's great that the elder generation are getting around and vacationing and visiting with another aunt down in San Diego. So I'm happy for them. And I guess we'll try and keep it on kind of a positive note here. There is something good that has been happening lately. I've been working on, if you've listened to any of my previous podcasts, and this one might go a little bit long, but if you listen to some of my previous podcasts, you know that I came up with a way of fixing dead pixels on cameras, not on monitors. There's a ton of stuff out there on YouTube for fixing dead pixels on monitors, but I think that's because YouTube is a video-based service, and you can expand a full screen and play those videos on a monitor. So some people seem to really believe that if you cycle a bunch of primary colors on the screen or move patterns around and let it run for an hour, 3 hours, 8 hours, I've seen some ridiculous videos. As a tech myself, or a person with a technical background anyway, I have to question if it's the electronics inside that have failed in a way that a pixel on your screen goes dark or dead, or it gets stuck, which you can see them as little dots that are always red or always green or always blue, or if you happen to have one of the particular monitors yellow. I just have to question if the electronics have gone bad. Yeah, maybe you can massage it back to working, but if the electronics died before, they're probably going to die again. But getting off that little sidebar, my little discovery was how to fix dead pixels in cameras, like the one that's in my phone. I happen to have dead pixels, and that's what started all of this. I didn't want to replace the phone. I like the phone. It's a good phone. Now I'm starting to sound like Trump. I like my phone, and I don't want to just dump it, buy a new phone, just because of a few dead pixels. So, as you've already seen, or you may have to rewind, I'm going to try and take a couple more pictures while I'm out. I'll show you pixels in kind of before and after, so you can see the dead pixels and then watch them disappear using my program. I originally wrote the program in PHP. It was basically a website. I had to start up a web server on my computer with a piece of software that actually, when you request a file, presents it to you. That's what a server does. It serves it up. And I wrote it as a PHP program because that's my native language right now. The one I write the most in. If I have an idea and I want to test it out quickly, I do it there. But lately I've kind of realized that trying to release that would mean I would have to put those program files on a server, and if the program gets really popular, that server is going to be absolutely inundated, and the program is rather processing intensive in order to heal the dead pixels. And so I thought about it, and I decided, all right, it's time to go back to Windows programming, which I hadn't done for a little while. The last program I wrote was a reintroduction to arithmetic. And just to kind of give you some background there, I know I'm already over my 5 minutes, but this is important enough to me. I think it's probably worth a 10-minute blog, podcast, whatever you want to call it. Going on a little sidebar there, years ago I used to be a tutor, and I tutored at the college level, and it was amazing how many people came in to college. But they would come into the tutoring center where I worked, and they were brand new students at the college. They'd just been admitted, but they were provisionally admitted. They had to get past a certain amount of math to gain full entrance. At least I think it was provisional. It may have actually been that they were coming in for help because they couldn't get in. And once again, that was a bus going by. I am out walking in the city. So, a lot of people were coming in because they were having trouble getting through the entrance exam. And the entrance exam was mostly arithmetic, technical arithmetic, by which I mean a lot of the concepts were rooted in plus, minus, times, divide, roots, and a few other things that really come before algebra. And in order to get into the college, they had to be able to perform at a certain level in terms of algebra. But if you didn't have the foundation in arithmetic, then you're going to struggle in algebra. If I ask you, if I say 2 plus some unknown value is equal to 5, you got to figure out what that value is. Now you could probably do that in your head, but we represent it in algebra as 2 plus x equals 5. What is x? And the equations, the questions that come up in algebra, that's just the beginning. They get more complex, but algebra is basically the science, the math of finding the unknown. Once you get beyond algebra, you get into calculus and things like that. And anyway, getting back to the point, a lot of people were coming and they were having real trouble getting through the entrance exam to get into early level algebra. The university solution was first to take algebra from being 2/4 to 3/4, slowing it down so that people could keep up. But when that didn't work, they ended up having to do some remedial math. And so people would get close enough that it would be recommended they take the remedial math before they go to the algebra. Well, they came into our tutoring center, and our job was to help them understand the questions. What I figured out over time was ultimately people that don't have a strong foundation in arithmetic, the full arithmetic, not just plus and minus, not just times and divide, but you add the other elements, the other operators, and there was more stuff that they just didn't seem to completely understand. And if I could make somebody really understand addition Everybody thinks they know. Okay, 2 plus 2 is 4. Okay. 1 plus 1 is 2. That's just one operator. If I could make somebody truly understand addition, like addition with negative numbers, or addition with roots, those kind of things, then I could help them understand how to solve an algebra problem for the unknown value. And so all of this is to say, I started writing a program to train people in arithmetic, and I got most of the way through it. I'm not sure if I even released it, but if anybody's really interested, message me. If you can, I'm not sure if you can private message on YouTube. I know you can on forums and stuff, but drop me a note in the comments. If there's enough interest, I'll repackage it and release it, so you can see. It was the way I wrote the program was it had 2 modes. Actually, it's been a while. 2 modes. One was a testing mode and one was a learning mode. And let me hit a button here. Wow, I'm over 10 minutes. What the heck? I'm out for a walk. I'll keep talking until I get where I'm going. Learning mode and testing mode. Basically, the learning mode was more questions on the same topics, or more questions overall. I mean, if you think that there's 16 different possible topics, or I can't remember, it was probably like 64 different topics. Well, let's just say there's 10 topics, and you got 3 questions in each. That's 30 questions. A lot of people are going to look at that and go, oh, geez, I'm taking a test. But if you really want to learn, you got to just keep drilling and drilling and drilling until you get it. And if you can't get it, then move on to find someone that can help you. And that's what the tutoring center was for. And I had developed a whole technique when all these people were coming in to figure out where their strengths and weaknesses were with a test that covered maybe 16 questions. But from that, I could tell if they're having trouble with addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, roots, exponents, and everything that comes into arithmetic, or at least the very basics. So if I could see that they had a weak point when they took the test, then I knew what I needed to help them with, what topics I needed to cover to complete their knowledge at least, say, the first of several levels before we move on to the second of several levels, and then the third and the fourth, and rebuild their understanding of arithmetic. If I could rebuild their understanding of arithmetic, then they could walk into an algebra class the first day of the first class in algebra and probably do better than most of their classmates. So that was all of that, and that's why I wrote that program. And that's pretty much like the last program I wrote for Windows. So getting back to the topic here, I wrote this, I've been writing this program now for fixing the dead pixels. I'm up to beta 2 today. Finished up beta 1 over the weekend, which is just the basic functionality, but none of the decoration. I cleaned up the program, the interface a little bit, so it looks a little more professional. My first objective was just simply to get the thing working and get the functionality that I needed, the algorithms, the processing that needed to be done in order to take a picture that you load into the program and make those dead pixels disappear. So today I finished up, and I'm rather proud of myself. Some people that are real Windows programmers probably just kind of go, yeah, okay, big deal. But one of the things I had to figure out was how to put a progress bar in the interface so that when you say you've loaded up the reference image, well, just say you loaded up your photo that you want to heal, and you click on heal photo. If it just sits there for 30 seconds and doesn't show you anything, you're going to think the program's dead. It just went bad, it crashed. But in reality, in the background, it's chunking away, figuring out how to heal your photo. I needed to have something to indicate that something was going on. The progress bar is the most obvious thing, is that in Windows, at least, for most programs, it's a green bar that you see growing until it fills a particular space. And when it fills that space, it says it's done. Or it means it's done. So that, unfortunately, is not a trivial task. There are ways of doing it in a trivial fashion, but those ways would mean that I would have to require that anybody using the program has Windows 10, or at least Windows 7 or 8, I think. And I didn't want to limit my audience to just people using current versions of Windows. There's still some people out there running XP. I've still got a box that runs XP and a laptop that runs XP, so I want to be able to test on those machines. I got a Windows 7 box and I got a couple of Windows 10 boxes. I know that these are not fancy boxes. These are basically, they were trash, and I kind of resuscitated them and got the operating systems on them. So I guess to sum it all up, I'm really happy because I got the progress bar working today. I need to do 2 of these processes that are going to need a progress bar. So I got 1 done today. And now that I've conquered that, the second one shouldn't be nearly as tedious. So I'm a happy camper there. It's tempered a little by when I took off, I looked at my phone and it's 95 degrees outside at 6:30 in the afternoon. So tempered a little by that, but I have a bottle of water with me and I'm doing okay. And also tempered by what's going on down in the south. So I think I'll sign off by saying my heart goes out to all the people that are in crisis down there, and pretty much anybody that's in crisis. But there's a lot of crisis down south. If you got the resources and you can contribute in some way, money would probably be the simplest. But if you can get your body down there when it's time, right now is too soon. Unless you're, a rescue worker. But if you can get your body down there and help them rebuild, that's what we need here in this country. And I'm sure there's going to be plenty of people. Look at what Katrina did. And that's family too. That's near family. So I already knew New Orleans was a bowl. And that if water got over the wall or inundated the pumps, they were going to have problems. And they did. Texas, they've built a ton of flood control because they've had problems in the past. Huge flood back in the 60s. So they were prepared for a big storm, but not this kind of big storm. So my heart goes out to them. If you can help, help. And with that, and almost 20 minutes, thanks for listening.